So I know a lot of you feel that the world is filled with a bunch of garbage men. All right. I say that respectfully. I'm just expressing how some of you guys feel about it. Right. And I understand why you see it that way. I understand that so many of you are experiencing men who aren't serious, men who aren't intentional, men who do not understand how to properly treat and pour into you. I get it, right? But I also have to convey to you the fact that I see a lot of women continuously entertaining those types of men, right? Continuously getting with a guy who just isn't best for them. Now, I know some of you may say, well, Stephan, we don't always know that first, initially these guys put on an act and then we get with them and then they start to show their true colors, so to speak. And again, I'm not going to deny that this can't happen. I do think that women's intuition, women's spirit does speak to you in many cases, and there's something telling you something is wrong, but for many reasons you choose to rationalize past it, move past it, whatever. Either way, it puts you in this cycle of dealing with men who are not best for you. And I'm trying to say this in the nicest way, but dealing with men who are beneath you. Okay? Now, we're not saying beneath you in the sense that these are just low down, good for nothing men in a general sense, but beneath you in the sense that they are unable to meet the standard necessary for you and them to have a healthy, happy relationship. Okay? And they don't even have the resume, though that we don't want to focus too much on that. There is some consideration for what they're coming, I hate saying coming to the table, but coming to the table with that allows you to see they have the character to be the man you need them to be. Okay? So there's a lot of reasons whether a lot of women want to acknowledge it or not. And maybe some of this stuff won't apply to you directly. It may apply to a friend, family member, but I'm pretty confident if you sit and listen to this entire video, something is going to resonate with you. All right. And it's contributing to a lot of women, maybe yourself, choosing the wrong men. Okay. So let's get to a big one that I think people don't talk about enough, but it's just a real issue. And one of the big reasons why a woman chooses a man who is beneath her is because you don't feel like you are worthy of love. So I was actually just on a show with Hardly Initiated, and there was a woman who asked a question, and long story short, she revealed in there, because I said, okay, there's something that hasn't been healed from your past. And when she started to express and let those things out, it turns out that she has a struggle with self-esteem due to what she experienced with her father. And it's led her to feel like she is not worthy of love. So now what happens is, or worthy of even this great, wonderful man. So what happens to a woman who doesn't feel like she's worthy is that now she is going to either consciously or subconsciously choose men who are, again, of lower quality, beneath her, who don't require her to feel inadequate in any kind of way. Okay? Because they got so many issues and problems, it allows her to feel like she has greater value here. And so it feels more comfortable, and it also allows her to feel like he needs me, and because he needs me, he's going to have to value me. He's going to have to respect me. He's going to have to honor me, and he can't afford to let me go. He can't afford to turn his back on me. And that gives a false sense of security. And unfortunately, again, many of you have probably seen it where a woman gets with that type of guy and thinks everything is safe, but at some point it's going to turn really messy. And a lot of times, no, they don't become the grateful guy. They don't become the guy that honors the woman so much. They become the guy that takes advantage. They become the guy that feels like, okay, since this relationship was built off of you pouring into him, it continues that way. Like he doesn't learn to now pour back into you everything you were given to him and then some. No, he just keeps taking and taking and taking, which leads a lot of women to ending up with a narcissist, right? Or any type of toxic male to be with in a relationship. Either way, it all stems from struggling to feel worthy. And I think you gotta recognize when that is something that's within you. And we have to address that. And I'll mention some things later in the video on how we resolve all these issues that I'm gonna be laying out for you. But you've got to be willing to be honest with yourself of, okay, do I feel I am worthy of love? And one of the ways I tested the woman who called into the show, I asked her, I said, okay, because I said, have you healed? And she said, oh, I've done my work. I said, okay, I got one question. Answer it for me. Do you now feel you are worthy of love? And she hesitated for a good 5 seconds. And I said, nope, don't even answer now, because that long pause said everything. It says you are still not at a place where you are confident, where you have good enough self-esteem, and where you truly feel worthy of love. And we've got to correct that, because not only does it lead a woman to choosing the wrong guy, it leads a woman to entertaining nonsense longer. It creates unhealthy attachments to unhealthy individuals, all right? And then it snowballs into more and more issues. So yes, it's definitely something to be mindful of, and definitely a huge contributing factor as to why women keep choosing the wrong man. All right, so now let's keep this going. So another big reason why a woman continuously chooses the wrong man is because you don't believe better exists. Okay? So going back to how I opened this video, where I said a lot of you believe that the world is filled with a bunch of garbage men, right? And because that is your perception and belief, it then creates this mindset of, well, since every guy is garbage anyway, let me basically find the garbage I can tolerate. All right? Now, you may not be flat out saying that to yourself. That may not be how you're processing it. But again, if you believe that there's nothing but trash out there and you still want a relationship, you're going to end up dealing with what you find as the most acceptable trash. And so a lot of women have settled with men that they knew they weren't truly into, that they knew there wasn't a genuine connection there. Hell, that they weren't even attracted to. Because to them, it was like, well, you know what? This is the best it's probably going to get. And so from there, a lot of women try to make it work. And let me tell you, for a while, some people are successful. When I say successful, I mean that they're able to keep it going for a decent amount of time and put on a happy face, but they're not truly happy. Let me tell you. So to me, it's not true success, but it may appear like that to the outside world, okay? But behind closed doors, it's slowly deteriorating. The deterioration is happening in their relationship. The deterioration is happening within self, okay? And then, unfortunately, if kids come about or involved, it can start to have a very negative impact on the kids. So buying into the idea that everything is bad and there's no good out there is extremely dangerous. You've got to understand that even if all you have witnessed is bad, and I understand why that would lead you to simply view things that way, you have to know good exists. Now, here's one way to strengthen your perception that good exists even in men. If you are a believer in God and you believe that you yourself is good, do you really think that God placed you, a good woman on this earth, with no good men out there at all? Like, some of y'all might say yes, and I'm going to tell y'all stop. No, that's not what God would do. That's not what he's doing. I've always believed, I believe I know I'm good. So then to me, that automatically tells me other good people are out there. Good men, good women, they're there. Sometimes we may not be in a season of seeing them. Sometimes, yes, the environments we've been exposed to have blinded us from it. And let it be known, sometimes it's not that you have not come across it, but it's that you are not accepting it for what it is, believing it, right? Or receiving it correctly. So, for example, since we're talking within the context of relationships and dating, a lot of times a woman will say, oh, there's no good men out there. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Clearly there's some good men, because there was a guy you tried to put down with your friend or your sister or your family member. There was good guys who you may have been cool with. Now, you may not have been interested in those guys, but they were good guys. So one, let's start with acknowledging good guys exist. You just have maybe not seen any that you are interested in. Okay? That's very different. But at least we're understanding that they are out there in general. But from there, yes, like there's a lot of life to live. And over the course of life, trust and believe that there's going to be opportunities to meet amazing individuals. But when you have convinced yourself that it doesn't exist, then what happens on the other end is if a good man comes your way, you don't believe he's good. You try to find ways to discredit him. You try to find ways to undermine the fact that he can be as good as he claims he is. Now, please don't confuse good with perfect. Ain't no perfect man. Ain't no perfect woman. We all make mistakes. We all fall short. But good, yes. Tons on both sides. Tons of good women, tons of good men. But again, when you are holding on to such a negative perception, it will hinder you from seeing it for what it is. And that's why, I was going to mention it later, but I'm going to mention it now. The overall theme that I'm going to keep repeating is this is why healing is so necessary. Healing is what allows you to not just see the good, receive the good, be able to nurture the good, be able to continuously have good come into your life. We don't realize how much a lack of healing creates these self-fulfilled prophecies of negativity and negative cycles and negative situations. So healing is the foundation of fixing all of this, but also understanding principles like, if you are good, then other good is out there. Trust and believe that. All right. So now here's another common one I have found. And again, this may not apply to all of you. I mean, it won't apply to all of you, but some of you it will. The reason why women choose the wrong men consistently is because you feel like this is still better than my father was. So what do I mean by that? I knew of a situation once where a woman was dating a man, and it was a very toxic, unhealthy relationship. And the unhealthiness was more so in the energy of the relationship, how at times they spoke to each other, a lot of secrecy, and just overall, it never got physically abusive, or even I won't say it got very verbally abusive, but it still was a lot of negative talk to each other and disrespect at times. Okay. However, when I would speak to the young woman about this situation and I dug deeper, what I found out was to her, this wasn't a big enough deal to let go, because in her eyes, well, this is still way better than my mother ever received. Because what her mother received was physical abuse, verbal abuse, complete control, manipulation, you name it. I mean, it was another level of toxic and unhealthy. So the way that she processed the woman who I was talking to is like, all right, well, my mom had it this bad, and this guy is so much better than my father was. I should be grateful for this. I should be thankful that this is what I'm receiving. And then when you couple that with seeing other situations, because a lot of times it's not just you saw it in your father. It might be, your aunts, your sisters, whoever. If you're not seeing positive, healthy examples of relationships, it's very easy to now compare what is not a good situation to a lot worse situations and say, well, this is still good. Okay? Which is how some people normalize arguing and a lot of toxic behavior, because to them, it's been much worse around them. And so it's a very sad and unfortunate situation and mindset for a lot of women to be in, because yeah, I understand that this was better than your father was, but it's still not good. And it's not about, is it better, worse? It's about, are you happy? Are you healthy? Are you able to show up in this relationship the way that you need to? Are you and this person pouring into each other? Because listen, comparing ourselves in our relationships to anyone else is really unfair anyway, right? Because let's look at it on the flip side. In this situation, it caused her to hold on to something that wasn't healthy because of what was worse around her. But let's just say her parents' relationship was the most amazing relationship in the sense that, okay, well, her father paid for everything, showered the mom with gifts, super affectionate, all these things. Like, it was a level 20 on a scale of 1 to 10. And then she meets a man who's treating her a level 10, but it's like, but damn, my mom got this and this and this. And now she struggles to appreciate what actually she felt good about, but when she compared it, it created a problem. You know, they say comparison is the thief of joy. I believe that's the correct saying. So we should not be comparing regardless, right? But getting back to the initial point of when it's worse situations around you, you can't allow that to make you think that what is bad is now acceptable. All right. And so we still have to be mindful of what we need in order to be happy, healthy, and in harmony in a relationship. And if those things are not there, then that's still a reason to let go. All right. So this next one, I'm just going to mention it and then I'll break it down because there's a lot to explain. So another reason why women keep choosing the wrong man is because you're basing your value on your accomplishments. All right. So let me explain what I'm saying here. And first, I think for the woman who bases her value on her achievements and accomplishments, it's not even just choosing the wrong man. It doesn't allow her to accept or embrace being with the right guy. Okay. So before I get to breaking that down more, let me say this. I believe that there's a lot of women out, I know there's a lot of women out there who they are evaluating their value on the same scale that they use to evaluate men. So a lot of women place value in a man who has accomplished, achieved, education, financial stability, all these things. Nothing wrong with that. That's cool. That's perfectly fine, right? But then what that woman isn't understanding is that putting that same value system on yourself creates a disconnect with the type of man that woman tends to want. There's exceptions to every rule, but for the woman who tends to want, again, the man who has accomplished, achieved all these different things, has his stuff together, he tends to not place as much value. Not that it doesn't have any value at all, but it's not the priority to him as much as her character, how she makes him feel, his attraction to her, compatibility in different areas, intimately, all these different things. That holds more weight. And then the accomplishments and achievements tend to be icing on the cake. Okay. And again, exceptions to every rule, but this is what tends to be the case. So now, because this woman has placed this incorrect value system on herself, it creates this dynamic where one, she will struggle many will struggle to be with a man who has achieved and obtained more than her. Now, some of you may say, no, that's crazy. There's tons of women who want that. That's what women are dreaming of, a man who's doing better than them, who they feel like is either their equal or better. But for a lot of women, because they don't understand your value has to be in who you are first, when they actually have that man in front of them, many struggle with feeling more inadequate. Many struggle with feeling like, what is my place here? Like, where do I bring value if he already has everything? It's almost like trying to buy a Christmas gift for a billionaire. It's like, what do you get the guy who has everything and has the money to get everything? And that can make people feel uncomfortable because they don't know how to now provide value. And the reality is that in a relationship, everyone wants to feel that they are providing a level of value. When they are genuinely interested in that individual, when they have real, genuine intent for a relationship, not just looking to use somebody, they want to be able to bring some kind of value. So for that woman, it can create a conflict with that, as well as it can, again, make it difficult for her to meet or get with a guy who is established or has his stuff together, because, again, he's looking for those other things I mentioned with her character, and she's hanging her hat on her accomplishments. And that's not going over well. It may not stop a man from wanting to sleep with you, but for a man to want to be with you, it can get in the way. On the flip side, what it leads to a lot of women to doing is what I mentioned earlier, to where if there is a deeper struggle of self-esteem, if there is a deeper perception of there isn't that many great men out there, things of that nature, if there is a lack of healing, she may then choose a man who is, again, as we said earlier, beneath her, quote unquote, who's not at her level, because now she has more value there. Now she has more control there. And it may not even be like control as in really trying to tell him what he can and cannot do, but emotional control. She doesn't feel like she's losing herself in this situation. And even when I say losing yourself, I want to be clear, because there's two types of losing yourself. There's the losing yourself in, I'm trying to accommodate this man so much that I am compromising and undermining who I am as an individual, who I am as a woman, and I am becoming things I am not, okay? And so in that process, you are losing yourself trying to hold on to him. But then there's the losing yourself that some people experience, which is you have built a persona over all these years, a persona that hides behind a wall. And when you meet a certain caliber of guy, and when I say caliber of guy, don't even think about his resume. The kind of guy who you feel this deep connection with, that you're deeply into, it's like he starts to naturally melt your wall. But that's scary, because you haven't resolved the reasons why you hid behind the wall in the first place, okay? So now you feel like you're losing yourself, meaning I am losing my protective armor. And again, not in the good way, or not in a way you think. Okay, this might sound confusing. I'm saying you're losing that armor, that wall, that protective wall, what you viewed as protective, but it really wasn't protecting you, because I always say the same walls you have up to protect you are the same walls blocking your blessings, okay? You're losing that. You're losing that wall, and now it's forcing the real you out. And that's scary. And you feel like you're losing yourself. You're losing who you thought you were trying to be. And now you're being forced to be you. And that's uncomfortable, because you haven't dealt with that for a long time. Anyways, I hope I didn't confuse y'all too much. I hope you're following me here. But the point is that, yes, that situation can be created as well. So I do think that that's one of the things a woman has to understand. It doesn't mean you cannot value your accomplishments and achievements, but they cannot be higher on your list than your character and who you are as a woman from within. So it's like when someone asks you what makes you a good woman, it shouldn't start with, oh, I got my own house, this great job. No, it should start with, I'm loving, I'm caring, or I know how to make a home a happy place, whatever. Like, it's about that energy and character that you possess. And then down the list, oh, and I also happen to have boom, 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 boom. That to me is a healthier, more efficient, more effective mindset to have for a woman that will help steer you away from entertaining the wrong men. All right, so before I continue to the next one, I just want to mention, be sure to head over to my shop, stephanspeakshop.com, to get your copy of any book that you want, or tickets to my next event, or if you want one-on-one coaching, whatever you need, it's all on the site. And And right now, I'm going to give you the opportunity to use the special promo code YouTube20 for 20% off whatever you get on the shop. So again, click the link below in the comment section or in the description, or go to stephanspeakshop.com and use promo code YouTube20 for 20% off. All right, so let's continue this. And another, I want to say, unspoken reason that a lot of women choose the wrong men or men who are beneath them is because you feel, so at least subconsciously or consciously, that less women will want him, so he's less likely to cheat. Okay? So it's kind of like how some women will say they'd rather date a medium ugly guy than a really good looking guy. All right. Some of y'all may not have heard that before, but yes, there are women who refer to some men as medium ugly, and they like medium ugly. Okay. And I get the concept, right? And don't get me wrong. Listen, if you are naturally attracted to someone who maybe the world does not consider that cute or attractive, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we don't all have the same taste, and I wouldn't want anyone to allow other people to dictate their attraction. Okay? However, what we're talking about is targeting medium ugly, targeting men who you may find as less desirable, but you find that as advantageous for you because, again, it creates a false sense of security. Now, this also goes hand in hand with dealing with a man who is of a lower level than you, a man just overall isn't a man who truly has what you need to be happy with him. And what a lot of women overlook in dating the medium ugly, the ugly, whatever, the less desirable guy, is that if you yourself are a desirable woman, okay, then all you've done is take him from medium ugly to maybe he's kind of handsome. And what I mean by that is other women are going to see you. If you are a desirable, attractive woman, other women are going to see you with this man. And even though many may agree at first he was medium ugly or less desirable, because again, it's not just about physical looks. There's other things that can make him less desirable as a man that you may feel protects you from him having a chance to cheat or even bothering cheating on you. But let's just focus on the physical for a second. So they see you with this guy, and what will happen is many women will start to be like, okay, well, if he got her, there's got to be something good about this man. He must either have some money, or he's packing, if you know what I mean, or he must treat her amazing. Like it creates curiosity, and then it draws more women to him. And if he is a man that has not been accustomed to dealing with women's attention, he may not know how to handle that. And so what started off as a man that you thought would never cheat on you ends up being a man who ends up crossing that line. Okay? And again, it's not simply because he is a man or all men cheat. That's not true. But you have to understand the dynamic and what you are setting yourself up for. Okay? But understand this. Does that mean a woman can never get with a less attractive man and it work out? No. Because here's the key. Again, if the only issue is he's not the greatest looking, but you guys have a genuine connection, and let me put it to you like this. If he has enough, or he has what it takes for you to show up 100%, pour into this man, and really be in tune with him, then there's a much greater chance that things will be what they need to be. But what people overlook is that many times when you consciously get with someone who you acknowledge or recognize as less desirable, there's a very good chance that you are not going to be able to pour into them or show up for them the way that they need you to. So using the attraction, I spoke about attraction in a different video, I've seen women who have married men who were the medium ugly or they weren't that attracted to, but they figured, okay, this is a safe space and I can work with this. But what they neglected was the fact that her desire to be intimate with him was not strong. And therefore, it created him feeling neglected when it came to intimacy. So now, and I'm not making excuses, I'm explaining to y'all how it goes down a lot of times. So you combine a man feeling neglected physically, right, with this woman, and let me add this, because think about it. He has to lay down next to a woman that he finds so attractive every night, but he can't get some. That's torture to a lot of dudes, if not damn near every guy, okay? So he has to deal with that. And as I said earlier, you being a desirable woman, your presence makes him more attractive to other women. So now they start showing him attention, right? They start whispering in his ear what they would do to him when he's not getting it at home. When you start, you see where I'm going with this. When you combine all of that, you see what I mean? And he's already not used to knowing how to guard himself against the temptation. He's not used to navigating through this because he's never been a guy that gets girls like that. And you have a recipe for disaster. So you don't want to choose somebody based off of what you think makes the situation safer. You want to choose someone based off of real connection. You want to choose someone based off of being on the same page, being in alignment, right? Having God in our relationship. Like, we need a strong foundation to make this work. Not, oh, okay, if they're less desirable, I should be okay here. I have nothing to worry about. That's not how it usually plays out. So, I gave you guys some things to consider. There's some more things we could probably talk about, but, we'll leave that for a different video. However, what I do want to say to you is, again, a lot of what you heard today stems from a lack of healing. And so one of those books I want you to get from the store is Love After Heartbreak, because it will walk you through the steps of healing. But I really want to get back to saying also that when I said to you, if God put you, a good woman, on this earth, do you really think he put you amongst nothing but bad men? And I would hope you can say, no, that wouldn't be the case. And you have to trust and believe good exists. Because if you don't believe good and better exists, you will keep settling for less. And settling typically, I really want to say never works. I only say typically to try to account for there's exceptions to everything. But for the vast majority of people, settling does not work. And it leads to a very unhappy life and relationship and an unhealthy household. And you have to make sure that if you are not getting the results you're looking for, ask yourself, what could I do differently? I know it's very easy to just look at it as men this, men that. And we can acknowledge that there's tons of men doing nonsense, but you not getting what you deserve is more contingent upon you doing what you need to do. And it's very easy for us to feel like, but no, I'm doing everything right. There's nothing I'm overlooking. It's like, no, let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. And again, sometimes it's just the healing part. Sometimes it is changing these perceptions that we've been having. Sometimes it's all of it, right? And then for others, it may just be asking God. Like, if you're resistant to what I'm saying in this video, if you think, well, no, this doesn't apply to me, I would just encourage you to take a moment, pray, and ask God, is there anything I'm overlooking? Is there anything I need to do differently? All right? Is there, just get into a conversation. And for those of you who may struggle to hear God at times, fasting is an amazing way to gain more clarity, to grow closer to God, to strengthen yourself spiritually. Be willing to go on that journey if you feel like you are not receiving spiritually what you need in regards to guidance, in regards to answers. But know that good exists. God wants you to receive what is best for you, and it can all be right in front of your face tomorrow if you walk and get on the path that you need to get on. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So, would you agree that sex is a huge part of a relationship? I'm going to assume you would, at least most of you, right? And the reality is that it is. At the end of the day,